everyone. We're gonna have a lesson on multiplying complex numbers. This is an addition. This is a continuation of our complex numbers lessons. It is after we've dealt with addition and subtraction. There will be no division lesson, just multiplying complex numbers. And as a reminder of what complex numbers are, right, is they are numbers that have both a real aspect and an imaginary aspect, where this I represents the square root of -1. It's a placeholder for this thing that we cannot solve. So they're very complex, got multiple sides of it. And for us to multiply these, you'll notice that these are just two terms, right? Two aspects of it. We're going to bring back an old friend, FOIL. And of course, you can do other stuff like the box method, things like that, but I'm just going to focus on FOIL for this lesson, where FOIL stands for first, outside, inside, last. And we're going to use that to simplify with multiplying complex numbers. So to give you your first example, here we have two things. We know that we are multiplying this first complex number and this second complex number because in between the parentheses, there's nothing in between there, right? So if there's nothing in between, you know you're dealing with multiplication. So we're going to start with the first, right? So first is the first two terms. So first is we're going to multiply 3 times 2, which is 6. The next letter of FOIL is our O. So after we're done with that, let's find O, which is the outside terms, 3 and -1. So outside is 3 times, negative I. So we have 3 times negative I. So this becomes, because it's a positive, it's a negative, it's going to be a -3. And the 3 and the I can't interact, right? So you can treat it like a normal variable. That's fine. Just keep in mind what I stands for, which is the square root of -1. So far, no big changes for what we're usually doing. Next are the inside terms. I stands for inside. That's going to be 4i and 2. So we take these two terms and we multiply them. 4 times 2 is 8, and they have an 8i, and we're doing good so far. So far, nothing's been that different. Nothing looks complicated. But watch what happens when we do the last terms. L for last, 4i and -i. When I multiply them together, 4 times a negative is -4, and then we have two i's, right? So it'd be -4i squared. Look at that. Do you guys remember what I squared is actually going to become? If you remember what we dealt with i's in the past, it becomes -1. So if we ever have this situation where we're multiplying two terms that have I in it, it will become -1. And so -4 times -1 becomes a +4. So that is the big difference between what we've been doing now and what we've done in the past, is when you're multiplying two terms with I squared becomes -1, and that -1 just multiplies by whatever's in the front, which is -4, and that becomes a +4. Now we just have to list out everything we have. 6, -3i, plus 8i, plus 4. And we can combine our like terms. If you don't know where these like terms are coming from, take a look at this. It's 6 plus 4. It's not -4. This negative is in front of the 3i. Then we have -3i plus 8i is 5i. So that's where everything's coming from, and that's our final answer. And if that was confusing, guys, let's go ahead and do one more example. So here it's very similar. It's just different numbers, right? So same strategy. I know I'm multiplying. There's nothing between the parentheses. So let's go ahead and multiply what are the first two terms. First is going to be 6 and -5. 6 times -5 is -30. Then we do inside. The inside terms are going to be outside. That was my bad. First, outside, inside, last. FOIL, not FIOL. So outside is 6 and 4i. 6 times 4 is 24. And nothing happens to the I. It's nice and staying as it is. Next is the inside now. -3i, -5. Negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 5 is 15. And then I stays the same. And then the last part, the last terms are the trickiest, right? -3i and 4i. Because -3 times 4 is -12. But then we have I squared, because I times I is I squared. Remember, guys, pause for a second. What is I squared the same thing as? That's right, it's -1. -12 times -1 is a +12. So now we can take our 4 results, put them in a list right here, -30, 24i, 15i, and 12. And then we can combine our like terms. And if you don't know where those numbers came from, -30 plus 12 gives us our normal number. And then the imaginary terms, 24i and 15i, gave us 39i. And that's it for today's lesson, guys. Make sure you do. We're going to have 2 problems for homework. Make sure you get that done and turned in on time. And you have a good day. Bye.